Hi, we're bringing you this encore look at my take on the classics Lawrence of Arabia and Treasure of Sierra Madre. And to make it even better, we'll take another look at a couple of tough dudes, George S. Patton and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And of course, we'll have Carla's Campy Pics, and I'll answer your email. Onward. You know the old saying, go big or go home? Well, in this classic pick, we are definitely going big, as in the American Film Institute's 7th greatest movie ever made. I'm talking about 1962's epic masterpiece, Lawrence of Arabia. Here's a sample from the trailer for this beautifully restored 50th anniversary edition of the movie.
The English have a great hunger for desolate places. They hunger for Arabia. I think you are another of these desert-loving English.
I've been seconded to the Arab Bureau.
Of course I'm the man for the job. What is the job, by the way?
Have you no fear English?
My fear is my concern.
We need a miracle.
They hope to gain their freedom. I'm going to give it to them.
The man who gives victory in battle is prized beyond every other man.
It's going to be fun.
And it should be seen that way. The restoration is gorgeous. The movie's based on the World War I activities in Arabia, a British Army officer, T.E., that's Thomas Edward Lawrence. And there just aren't enough superlatives for this one. The legendary director David Lean, 2 Oscars, including Lawrence, and 7 other nominations. Bridge on the River Kwai, Dr. Zhivago, Passage to India. Real big-time old Hollywood producer Sam Spiegel, 3-time Oscar winner, including Lawrence, On the Waterfront, Bridge on the River Kwai, and a little gem called The African Queen. His producer credit on that is S.P. Eagle. Just a little joke on his part. He spoke 7 languages and became a close family friend. I met him a couple of times at his apartment in New York, and I even got a ride on the legendary Spiegel yacht. The score by Maurice Jarre, unknown at the time, won for this one. He scored all of Lean's films and ended his career with 3 Oscars and 11 nominations. Also scored Dr. Zhivago, Longest Day, The Man Who Would Be King, Passage to India, Mad Max, and The Cast. What a cast!
Lawrence, not this. Go round. Damascus, Lawrence. Damascus.
No prisoners.
Lawrence.
This was Talal's village.
Peter O'Toole, just phenomenal as Lawrence. All his great work and all those great films, and he never won an Oscar. What a joke. Omar Sharif, Alec Guinness, Anthony Quinn, Jose Ferrer, Claude Rains, remember him as Captain Renault in Casablanca, Arthur Kennedy, and thousands of extras. Sure, this movie isn't historically accurate. There's a lot of discussion about that, but who cares? It's a movie. Visually just so sweeping, so big, so beautifully shot, a literate screenplay, a brilliant, huge, expansive score, O'Toole, Sharif, and everyone else. Steven Spielberg called Lawrence a miracle, and it is one for the whole family. Now for my classic pick, and this time I'm going close to home. It's my favorite of my father's movies, number 30 on the greatest films of all time, and it won John Huston Oscars for directing and writing, and his father, Walter, won for Best Actor. Based on the B. Traven novel, it's 1948's Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Here are two memorable scenes.
Está echadita. Oiga, señor, we are federales. You know, the mountain police.
If you're the police, where are your badges?
Badges? We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Old boy, it's a great joke played on us by the Lord or fate or nature, whatever you prefer. But whoever or whatever played it certainly had a sense of humor. The gold has gone back to where we found it. This is worth 10 months of suffering and labor, this joke is.
How good was Walter Huston? At first, my father wasn't going to do the movie. He didn't want to be in a supporting role. Then he spoke to his agent, Sam Jaffe, and Sam told me this story. He said he told my father, Bogey, there's nothing wrong with being second in a movie directed by John Huston and starring Walter Huston. And if you don't do the movie, John and Walter won't do it with another actor. You're one of John's closest friends. He'll be crushed if you don't do it. Of course, a few years later, my father would win the Oscar for the Huston-directed African Queen. Walter Huston was absolutely brilliant. And I tell you, my father loved playing Fred C. Dobbs.
Shut your trap! Shut up, or I'll smash your head flat! Throw it! Without me, you two would die here more miserable than rats!
Leave him alone. Can't you see the old man's nuts?
You're so dumb you don't even see the riches you're treading on with your own feet!
I know exactly what you mean. You want to take it all for yourself and cut me out. I know you for what you are. A long time I've had my suspicions about you. Now I know I've been right.
So that's your stinking game, is it, informing? I knew you was an informer. I knew it all the time.
Take a look down that mountain. This means all our funerals. What's that? If I'm right in what I'm thinking, may the Lord be with us. They're not soldiers, they're bandits.
This movie is about human conflict and about what greed can do to a person. It is stark, and one of the first movies made almost entirely on location, this time in Mexico. As usual, Huston used very little post-production. He never did, unlike nowadays. He put his movies together while he was shooting, using his skills as a painter to sketch out his scenes beforehand. As a director and a writer, Huston had no peers, 15 Oscar nominations. He was described once by author Ian Freer as cinema's Ernest Hemingway. He was a true Renaissance man. There was Tim Holt, wonderful as Bob Curtin, the third man in the Huston-Bogart triumvirate, and cameos by Robert Blake as the young boy selling lottery tickets, Ann Sheridan as a hooker, and Huston himself in the opening scene, the man in white, who Dobbs tries to get money out of. This is a stunning movie, one of my father's greatest performances. This is the way to make a movie. Now it's time to check out the old Bogart on Movies mailbox. Kevin, right here in Boynton Beach, writes, you recently asked if anyone knew what Linda Blair, star of The Exorcist, was up to these days. Well, here's the answer. Thanks so much, Kevin. Linda Blair is 54 years old, and although she had some problems with drugs in the late 70s, she's now really doing some terrific humanitarian work, helping children and as a fighter for animal rights. Good for you, Linda. And in your honor, let's take a look at one of the many really scary scenes from Linda Blair's Academy Award-nominated performance in the 1973 mega hit, The Exorcist.
By this sign of the Holy Cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns
with the Father and the Holy Spirit. Damien!
Amen.
God, defender of the look down with pity.
You killed my
on this
mother.
your servant.
You left her alone to
Raging
die.
for his
Shut up! I'll never forgive you.
I command you, by the judge of the living and the dead, to depart from the servant of God.
I picked The Exorcist as one of Steve's picks this season, and it's still one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. You can email me, send me your comments and questions to stevebogart@wxel.org, and include your name and your hometown. Carla has a real classic for her campy pick this week. It's The Blob, which has become a cult favorite since its release in 1958, and best known for the young but terrific even then, Steve McQueen.
Dave! Doc Hallen's been killed.
Doc Hallen, what happened?
It's over at his place. You gotta come now.
Oh, wait a minute, Steve. Tell us what happened.
Well, I'm trying to tell you. Now, this thing had killed the doc.
Well, what was it?
Stop with it, kid. But it's kind of like a... It's kind of like a mass that keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Every one of you watching this screen, look out. Because soon, very soon, the most horrifying monster menace ever conceived will be oozing into this theater. Two teenagers see it first, like a falling star from outer space.
Boy, that was close. Hey, come on. I want to see if I can find it.
An old man finds it, touches it, and this is the shocking result. From then on, there's no stopping the Blob as it spreads from town to town. It's indestructible. It's indescribable. Nothing can stop it.
This town is in danger.
How can it be stopped? Mob hysteria sweeps one city. Before long, the nation, and then the world could fall before the blood-curdling threat of the Blob.
Starring Steve McQueen and a cast of exciting young people.
Within the violent waters that cover this earth comes a mighty motion picture destined to be remembered above all others. Starring John Carradine as the scientist who was deceived by his own fantastic experiments.
Hey, what happened?
I think something's buckling.
Hey! Hey! Can you hear me?
This story of a group of scientists who penetrate the depths of a mysterious ocean brings you underwater thrills and breathtaking excitement as they travel mile after eerie mile through the black waters to ultimately discover the incredible petrified world. See women struggle for survival as they become lost in a world of incredible danger. Caverns explode violently as underground volcanoes unleash their tremendous fury. Suspense, chills, terror, excitement beyond compare. Never has a motion picture captured the amazing story, the gigantic spectacle, the staggering force of the incredible petrified world.
So in keeping with our theme this Memorial Day weekend, my real hit is a look at a movie based in historical fact, This one is a blockbuster, a winner of 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. The movie is 1970's epic tale of the life of one man, George S. Patton.
I want you to remember that no bastard ever won a war by dying for his country. He won it by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country. I thought I would stand up here and let you people see if I am as big a son of a bitch as some of you think I am.
This was the perfect marriage of actor and role. The great George C. Scott truly became old blood and guts, that performance winning him the Academy Award. Scott then became the first actor to refuse to accept the award. He said as a protest against actors competing. By the way, Rod Steiger turned it down, later saying that was the worst mistake of his career. You think? Scott's co-star was the wonderful Carl Malden as General Omar Bradley. The Oscar-winning screenplay was co-written by Francis Ford Coppola. The iconic score by 17-time Academy Award nominee Jerry Goldsmith. Look him up. And the movie, directed by Franklin Schaffner, who also directed, among others, Planet of the Apes and Papillon. But of course, this was Scott's movie. Patton stands as one of the towering figures of the 20th century, and the movie remains one of the most beloved films in the last 50 years. As we all remember those killed and wounded in fighting for this country, and those still in harm's way, you can take time out to celebrate this great America. Well, people, it's time once again for my real hit, and I have another beauty for you. It's based loosely on the true story of 2 real Wild West outlaws, Robert Leroy Parker and Harry Longbaugh, known to most of us as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Dynamite's ready, Butch.
Well, that ought to do it.
Think you used enough dynamite there, Butch?
Outlaws with style, in a class all their own.
You know, when I was a kid, I always thought I was going to grow up to be a hero.
Don't tell me how to rob a bank. I know how to rob a bank.
And anything you ask of me, I'll do. Except one thing. I won't watch you die.
They robbed trains,
Stop it.
looted banks,
Manos arriba. They got him up. Ah, you're so damn smart, you read it.
and one girl shared their love and larceny.
Raindrops keep falling on my head. And just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed, nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head.
What are you doing? Stealing your woman? Take her. Boy, you're a romantic bastard, I'll give you that.
Mr. E.H. Harriman of the Union Pacific put the top lawman in the West on their trail.
They're very good.
If he'd just pay me what he's spending to make me stop robbing him, I'd stop robbing him.
The movie put 2 huge stars together. Couldn't get much bigger at the time than Paul Newman and Robert Redford, and they were magic. It also had Catherine Ross, who may remember also starred in The Graduate. Add in the Oscar-winning score and song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, written by the late and brilliant Burt Bacharach and Hal David. Did you know they also wrote Perry Como's Magic Moments? Google those 2. You'll be shocked at their body of work. Some truly memorable songs. And you have a movie I loved. Some, like Roger Ebert, were disappointed at the final half of the movie, and especially the ending. But I don't care. Redford and Newman together, great music, great movie, and definitely worth being one of my real hits. Finally this week, another one of my absolute favorites. It's a movie I think is absolutely perfect, and that's Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas.
Never rat on your friends, and always keep your mouth shut.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Hey, Mom, what do you think?
You look like a gangster.
I know I'd
By the time I grew up, there was $30 billion a year in cargo moving through Idlewild Airport. Believe me, we tried to steal every bit of it.
What do you do?
I'm in construction.
He's not Jewish.
Mazel tov.
For most of the guys, killing's got to be accepted.
Hey, Henry, here's an arm. Very funny, guys. Here's a leg.
There's a wing. What do you like, the leg or the wing?
For us, to live any other way was nuts. And we were treated like movie stars with muscle. We had it all just for the asking.
It's gonna be a good summer.
It was a glorious time.
In a world that's powered by violence, on the streets where the violent have power, a new generation carries on an old tradition.
Ah, how great is that? Everything in this picture worked. The acting with Ray Liotta as Henry Hill, Robert De Niro's Jimmy Conway, Pesci, who, by the way, has a surprising connection to the musical group The Four Seasons, the wonderful Lorraine Bracco, Paul Sorvino, even Scorsese's mom had a part as Pesci's mom in the movie. I can't believe it didn't win Best Picture. Dances with Wolves did, which I liked, but come on. Taxi Driver, Mean Streets, Raging Bull, Color of Money. Would we ever see the Academy give the West Coast guy an Oscar? Thankfully, yes. So take a trip into the true story of Henry Hill and check out Goodfellas. For my pick this week, we turn to the Sidney Lumet-directed Slice of New York, 1975's Dog Day Afternoon.
You know something, people? You're going to be remembered the rest of your lives for the day you got held up and kidnapped.
At approximately 3 p.m. on August 22nd, 1972, Sonny Wurtzik and Sal Naturale entered the First Brooklyn Savings Bank and attempted a robbery.
Freeze! Nobody move! Get over there!
The attempt failed.
There's no money here.
They picked it up this afternoon. There's only 1,100.
This is too much.
It's for you.
What?
The police arrived.
This is Detective Sergeant Eugene Moretti. What are you doing in there?
For the people of the neighborhood, it was a sideshow.
Sonny! Sonny!
But for Sonny and Sal, the hostages, and the cops, it was a dog day afternoon.
It's all a whim. Rob a bank.
I had a plan. I had it planned. WNEW plays all the hits. Well, you keep away from this bank or we're going to start throwing bodies out the front door one at a time. I'm a Catholic and I don't want to hurt anybody, understand?
How about letting the people out of the bank?
They're keeping me alive. I'm going to let him out.
Sir, can you tell me what the situation is?
All right, who has to go to the bathroom?
Sonny, come on out!
And remember the famous Attica, Attica chant from the movie? Well, it was actually improvised by Al Pacino, and he's one of my absolute favorites. He got an Oscar nomination along with director Lumet. The movie was based on a bank robbery in Brooklyn a few years earlier. In a strange twist, the real-life bank robber watched the movie The Godfather to get ideas for his robbery. The Godfather, of course, co-starring Al Pacino. I met Pacino once. My mom, Lauren Bacall, and I were in a New York restaurant, and Pacino came over to the table to say hi. Of course, I was mesmerized. I'm still a fan at heart. He was totally rumpled, long blue overcoat, old school with that voice, just like you'd expect him to be. This is movie making at its finest. It's time once again for Steve's Real Hits. And when you hear this, I don't think you'll have any trouble figuring out what movie I'm talking about this time.
What we are dealing with here is a perfect engine. An eating machine. A great white shark. A stake to claim in the waters off Amity Island. You yell barracuda. Everybody says, huh? What? You yell shark.
We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
This sharp. Swallow you whole.
You ever have one do this before? I don't know.
That's right, it's Steven Spielberg's mega hit, 1975's Jaws. That memorable music was created by John Williams, who, by the way, has 5 Oscars and an astounding 47 nominations. The film was based on Peter Benchley's novel, and it scared us all and made us all, including yours truly, think twice about going in the water that summer. The movie co-starred Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, and Robert Shaw, and it took the country and the box office by storm. At the time, the biggest grossing film ever. Don't worry, the water's fine. Sure it is. And next week, more classic encores, the best of the best. Please join us for Bogart on Movies.